The story of Lucas Bennett standing up against a corrupt HOA. They demanded I pay $250,000 in fines for supposed violations over 5 years, along with legal fees and penalties they invented, all on the Montana ranch I inherited. The audacity was almost laughable until I discovered that they had built luxury homes on my land. I'm Lucas Bennett, a 35-year-old IT engineer turned reluctant rancher, and this is the story of how I faced a powerful HOA board with deep county ties who thought they could bully me into submission. When they threatened to lean on my grandfather's legacy, I didn't back down. I did what no one else dared to do, turning their scheme into a public reckoning that shook Lakeside Meadows to its core. 6 months ago, I was in Seattle, coding for a tech startup, earning 6 figures, and living the urban dream. Then the tech crash hit. My company folded overnight, funding vanished, and our CEO's defeated face during the final meeting still haunts me. No severance, just a good luck. Seattle's brutal cost of living loomed, and despite applying to every job, I drowned in a sea of laid-off engineers. 2 weeks into unemployment, a call from my grandfather Henry Bennett's lawyer changed everything. At 89, he passed away, leaving me his only grandchild, his 100-acre ranch. We had been close when I was a kid, fishing and riding horses during Montana summers, but adult life distanced us. Driving to Lakeside, I felt torn. The ranch held memories, but I knew nothing about running it. My plan was simple: clean it, sell it, and reboot in Seattle. The 15-hour drive stirred nostalgia. Many fences built with Grandpa, his stories about our family's land since the 1950s. But arriving revealed a shock beyond the familiar fields, barn, and modest 2-bedroom house. Where the ranch used to be was now a sprawling sprawl of cookie-cutter mansions. Lakeside Meadows, a gated community that hadn't existed in my childhood. The house was frozen in time, Henry's coffee mug in the sink, his recliner by the window, a book open. Dust coated everything, but the emptiness cut deeper. Sorting through papers, a knock interrupted me. Agnes Harper, a weathered woman in her 70s and my neighbor for 30 years, gripped my hand firmly. Henry was a good man. He stood his ground against those vultures, she said, nodding at a white envelope by the door. I thought it was a condolence letter. She urged me to read it. The letter was from the Lakeside Meadows HOA, demanding $250,000 in fines, $1,750 for unmaintained property, $50,000 for unauthorized agriculture, $40,000 for improper fencing, and $85,000 in legal fees, threatening to place a lien within 30 days. This is insane, I said. The ranch isn't even in their development. Agnes snorted. That's Marjorie Ellison. She entered the HOA 5 years ago. They started building and kept expanding. Henry refused to sell, so they claimed his land, saying he broke their rules. How could they claim my land? I asked. Agnes pointed me to a folder labeled Boundaries in Henry's study, hinting at evidence he'd gathered. Hours later, I found Edo worn manila folder with a 1952 map, recent surveys, and photos of old fence posts now inside Lakeside Meadows. Henry's notes questioned boundary shifts. The new surveys had shaved 10 acres off our land, now home to 15 mansions and half the HOA's clubhouse. Sleepless, I wrestled with selling versus fighting. Henry's journals detailing his battle fueled my resolve. Some things, his voice whispered, were worth defending. With Agnes' support, I visited the county records office, a tired brick building. Clerk Ellen Carter, a longtime local, remembered Henry. I'm sure the HOA's boundaries are wrong, she whispered. They were here all the time. She showed me the 1952 survey, confirming our land extended 300 yards into the newest phase of Lakeside Meadows, versus their 2019 survey, which conveniently shrank it. Can I get an independent survey? I asked. Ellen nodded. I've called Jake Thornton, the best surveyor. He's free tomorrow. Her help felt too smooth, but she smiled. Henry had friends here. Jake, a gruff 60-year-old, arrived at 8 a.m. and set up his gear with minimal talk. We walked the property for hours. His measurements confirmed that 10 acres, including homes and the clubhouse, were mine. Solid case. He grunted, promising a notarized report. Get Ben Travers in Billings. My brother-in-law's a tough lawyer for property disputes. Armed with Jake's report, I stormed the Lakeside Meadows HOA office, a fortress-like lodge with a waterfall lobby. The receptionist, polished and disdainful, tried stalling, but evidence got me into Marjorie Ellison's corner office. Mid-40s, designer suit, severe bob, and an icy smile screamed control. "A pleasure, Mr. Bennett," she said, not rising. Henry resisted progress. "I hope you're more reasonable." I slid the survey across her desk. "You've built on my land." Her smile tightened. "That's an outdated survey. Our plans were county-approved by top firms." "Firms you pay," I shot back. She leaned back, amused. "2 days in town, and you're making accusations with old maps. Pay the fines, or we'll lean the ranch or sell to us. Fair price. Win-win." Her tone turned sharp. "A coder like you has no business playing rancher." "How did you know I was a coder?" I seethed. I left her office, the echo of her words ringing in my head. Agnes explained that Marjorie buys ranches cheap if owners resist. Violations pile up, then she forces them to sell. That night, I called Ben Travers, who warned me that Marjorie was ruthless with deep pockets. "This will be costly," he said. "But building on your land, that's fraud." I prepared for the HOA meeting, open to non-residents. The clubhouse, ironically on my land, was built with Wealthstone fireplaces and mountain views. Marjorie presided, flanked by her nervous lawyer, Harold Crane. After mundane debates, I stood. "I'm Lucas Bennett, Henry's grandson. Your development, including this clubhouse, is on my family's land." A murmur spread. Marjorie, smooth as silk, called me emotional. Dismissing my survey, I countered with the 1952 map and Jake's report. "You're living on stolen land." Harold warned of libel, but Dana Larson, a 40-year-old environmental lawyer and resident, demanded the surveys. "If our properties are illegal, we deserve answers," she said. Marjorie deflected, but Dana's notes and whispers among residents signaled trouble. After the meeting, Dana handed me her card. "Coffee shop tomorrow, 9 a.m. Harold shoved a C sandist, upping fines to $300,000. At coffee, Dana cut through the small talk. "Marjorie's shady HOA fees fund nothing but her fights. We prove she has no authority over your land and built on it illegally." Her plan was to gather misconduct evidence, expose it to residents and regulators, and break Marjorie's control. Dana introduced Carlos Mendoza, a former Sun Valley worker who quit over shady practices. Marjorie ignored boundary issues, and he said a surveyor flag marker was replaced by a new guy, Carlos's cousin, who could dig quietly and knew others with stories. Agnes connected me to Sheriff Tom Wheeler, Henry's fishing buddy. "Marjorie runs this county," he admitted off record. "I'm neutral, but I'd love to see her fall." Our strategy was to contest the fines, then claim the land. Carlos provided a statement. Tom stayed impartial. We sent a letter contesting the fines, prompting Marjorie to have Tom deliver a public nuisance citation for my boundary signs. "She's worried," he whispered, calling commissioners to squash us. Marjorie's press conference labeled me an agitator, threatening property values. I launched a Facebook page titled Truth About Lakeside Meadows, posting evidence that residents questioned HOA spending. Some shared private grievances. Dana's group challenged Marjorie's board control. Marjorie offered $1 million for my land. I declined publicly, demanding fine cancellations and boundary truth. Reporter Sarah Kim from a city paper wrote Paradise Stolen, exposing Marjorie's tactics. It went viral, fueling outrage. Marjorie sued me for $500,000 in defamation. At a preliminary hearing, Judge Clara Thompson, a fair 60-year-old, ordered a court-supervised survey, suspending fines and liens. Marjorie hissed, offering $2 million. I found Henry's hidden 1975 water rights contract with Western Water, now owned by Marjorie's Cascade Development. It proved she knew the true boundaries and owed royalties. In her office, I presented it. "You knew you built on my land," I said, recording. She sneered. "I've built an empire. You're nothing. I make problems disappear." Montana's one-party consent law made her threats gold. At a public meeting on my land, 100 residents heard our evidence, including her recorded admission. Marjorie's interruptions were silenced by the crowd. I proposed canceling the fines. Marjorie resigns. Lease the land fairly. Residents fearing property loss agreed. The HOA voted to oust Marjorie, elect Dana, cancel fines, and lease the land. Marjorie sold her stake and fled, her tactics sparking wider probes. I kept the ranch, turning it into the Bennett Agricultural Education Center with lease income, honoring Henry's dream. New zoning laws prevented future disputes, and I found purpose not just saving land, but building a future. A sign by the gate read Henry's motto, "Never underestimate a rancher with an old ledger."